when I started going to games in 91 and 92. Now, see, you're a youngin' out there listening going, Jesus, Pops, 1991? Yeah, man, seems like yesterday. 92, 93, 94, 95, just how great this program's history is. And, of course, it is missing the ultimate prize, which is that championship. And who knows, today could begin the day that we end up looking back on NoleFan.org many years from now and citing as the moment of truth where Florida State went on a run to win the national championship. You don't know. We never will. There were lots of years where I thought, going back and looking, that was a 60-win team. 60. Thought they'd go ahead and make it to Omaha. They didn't. There were other years where you went, that's a 38-win team. They got no chance to go to Omaha. Well, we went to Omaha. So you don't know. You don't. And that's what last night's little NoleFan.org history lesson got me doing. Now, the thing is, once you're there, you're an addict because maybe you're sipping on a cold one, as I was last night, and you're doing all the baseball memories, and you're looking at those rosters, and you're looking at those box scores of games that you have long since forgot about, and you're refreshing your memory, and you see a name or you see a moment, and you realize, I was there for that. And then you start doing it for football, and you're screwed, Tom. You're going to be there for hours. You're going to be there for hours. You're like, oh, let's go back to that 94 season. Let's go back to that 1990. I know I was in the stands for this one. I remember this game. Oh, there's the Outson game. And I posted some of that on Instagram last night, some of the videos. But, I remember where I was sitting. I remember who I was with. And it just warmed my heart to think of all the great Florida State memories and how hopefully, maybe, we etch some new ones into this old brain here starting today with a Florida State victory. And 3 o'clock, they'll get it started. Joey Vellini will be on the hill. And hopefully Florida State takes care of business so that they're set up nicely for tomorrow night's game, which becomes, in essence, the big one, if you win today.
Well, considering, and we discussed this for a couple months now, considering how Florida State's pitching staff is constructed and what you can count on and what you can't count on, you really don't need to start this thing 1-1. However you get there to 1-1, you need to start this thing 2-0 to be in a position to advance. Again, especially now looking at the draw and where we're paired with in the Corvallis Regional, it doesn't mean that Oregon State can't play. I'm not saying that. They scheduled extremely aggressively because they had to. They're an independent now for all intents and purposes. I know the Pac-12 is turning into its own thing, but I really believe that Florida State is more vulnerable this weekend than next weekend. So this one is a little bit more volatile. Certainly you've got to win your first game if you want any shot, save for scoring 15 runs a game thereafter. I don't know that you can feel any confidence whatsoever if Florida State was to lose this afternoon at 3 o'clock, which the weather window has improved overnight, by the way. Things look to be just fine for first pitch this afternoon at 3 o'clock in just 2 hours' time from when everybody's listening to this. But next weekend, I feel a hell of a lot better. You give me a 2 out of 3. I know that Jamie might not pitch up to standard or Vellini might have a bad day, but you give me a 2 out of 3 situation with this lineup and this pitching staff and everything lines up with rest, I'll take my chances there. This is the weekend that has me a little bit more nervous. And yes, it does, in theory, set up for tomorrow night's game. But even still, I've got my eye on this one, watching very, very carefully. Because as I said yesterday, and we've talked about this week, Bethune has come in here and they've lost a game 9-7, but that ain't exactly 11-0 final in 7 innings. They're not going to have this Goliath versus David mentality. I think they're going to take the mound and take the field today, expecting to give Florida State a good game, and confidence is what matters in baseball.
It does, and you have to have the ability to execute. And when you talk about pitching, Tom, this is a team that its frontline starters, when they execute and they're able to throw the 2 or 3 pitches that they can consistently throw for strikes, you win games. You win games, and they go 5 or 6 at least, and you win games. But we all know they've also had their fair share of moments where they could not do that. And so you'll be watching early on here to see, does Joey Vellini keep guys off base? Does he allow for his stuff and his toughness? He is, as you said yesterday, he is bulldoggy. Can he get? He's not going to be intimidated by the moment. I don't believe he's got a great mentality. And I get out, get a win here, and let's see how deep you can get Vellini into this game. Ideally 7-8 innings today from Joey Vellini.
He's got that switch he can flip. We saw it the Miami game, where if we do push out to a healthy lead, it's almost as though he can switch from battle mode to inning eater, out eater mode, which would be extremely critical. I'm thinking about the concerns I have today because that's what a regional does. You feel the lack of a safety net, and you're thinking, all right, guys, let's play from in front here. It'll be very important to play from in front. But if you want to believe optimistically ahead of first pitch today, let's say you do get up. Well, now it is absolutely critical for Vellini to give you length, because in a regional setting, we could be playing as late as Monday. We could have that extra game on Monday, and at that point, it's whole staff versus whole staff. Well, I'd prefer not to get to that moment. I'd prefer that on Sunday everybody's fresh, because we get 2 great starts from our starters on a Friday and a Saturday. But also, Vellini will set the pace. It's a situation where Link clearly doesn't want to throw his best guy in game 1, but it's also a very important responsibility if you're Vellini to A, not have a bad outing, but B, if you can, do the Carson Dorsey thing and give us all sorts of length here, because if you do, then we're set up beautifully for what's coming the next couple of days.
Well, that's the key to the whole postseason, the Carson Dorsey revelation, right, where they figured it out, and that kid became a beast and was able to give you length and pitch in meaningful games and have big moments. And Joey Vellini on the season is 3.59 with the ERA, 1.15 with the WHIP. He went 8-5 in 14 appearances, 13 games started. He has the 2 complete games on the season, Tom. Arnold has none. Mendez has none. There's nobody else that has one. It's Joey Vellini, and he's got 2 of them. 77 2/3 innings pitched. He's been very, very good. He has not walked a lot of guys. In fact, between the 2 of them, Jamie Arnold and Joey Vellini, they've walked basically the same number of people, 24 and 25 and 72 and 77 innings, respectively. He's been right there with the strikeout numbers as well. The one downside to him, his pitching is a little bit more favorable to bat to ball overall. Guys make more contact than they do against Jamie Arnold. Arnold, when he's right, is tough to measure. It's tough to square when he's right. Vellini, people can still catch up to his stuff, and they do put bat to ball. So you got to pick up the baseball is the point. And we've done that for the most part this year.
Yeah, we have, but in stretches there have been lapses. Like in all phases of what we do, there have been
outfield problems too, Tom, is what's weird. Like just not getting to balls that aren't errors, but like, come on, man.
Yeah, lack of a jump off the bat. There have been a couple of times I'm looking in center field and I'm saying, are you watching the game? Because it seems like we're taking a full tick and a half before we get moving in a certain direction. But then you're seeing guys in the corners, throw to the wrong bases or fundamentals, not be in front of the ball. But again, those are just fits and starts. That doesn't mean that we're bad at outfield defense. It's just You could point to everything we do and play either side of the coin. It's your choice. Lineup. You could look at the quality of the at-bats. Do they swing too early? Are they too aggressive? Are they swinging out of the zone, offering out of the zone? They've had moments where they're locked the hell in, and they've had moments where you go, what the hell kind of approach was that? Defensively, same thing. There are moments when you think, especially up the middle, the defense has been brilliant. Max has his moments, but we know Lodis and Farreau have been fantastic. But then there are times where the infield defense kicks it around, specifically at third base. Miles Bailey's had a couple of freshman moments at first base as he's trying to really get used to the position. I think he's gotten a lot better there. But still, there are moments where a ball on a routine foul pop-up hits off a glove and an inning continues. Or, again, there's a lapse in the outfield. So, and the pitching staff, we know how inconsistent that has been. So every facet of this team has had some pretty distinct peaks and some pretty distinct valleys. It makes it interesting on a weekend like this, But over the long term, especially at the dish, they have improved immensely. It would just be nice to see guys like Harrelson and Max Williams get going this weekend.
As for Link Jarrett, he discussed the other day the decision to go with Joey Volini, the junior left-hander, and he said that, quote, "We thought it was a good matchup for him. Joey's handled right-handers, knock on wood. Kind of managed the right-handers okay. He's fresh, feeling good, so we're going there." He talked about Bethune's schedule, said they played a really good schedule, that they've been here before. They're a veteran team. 128 stolen bases is the thing that jumps off the page. Bunch of home runs to boot, a variety of arms. He talked about the right-hander they're going to see today. So he gave you a good preview. You can find that on the website here, warchant.com, on YouTube, Warchant TV as well. But, it's funny. I don't think it was going to matter, Tom. I think we already knew that they were going with Volini, whether it was a good matchup or not. I think that's the route they were going to go.
Oh, 100%. And then Bethune is countering with a kid named Joel Core. He isn't their best starter in terms of the numbers. He's sporting a 4.81 ERA. The guy they're throwing on Saturday, his name is Edwin Sanchez. He's got a 3.09. He pitches from the left side. They're going with a righty, which, again, is just, I'm looking at the top of the lineup, and I'm thinking about Harrelson and Max Williams. Miles Bailey's the guy I don't worry about, which I find that to be fascinating because a couple of weeks ago, if you said, who are the top half of the order are you most wanting to see a breakthrough from? I would have said Miles Bailey. Well, he broke the hell through, and he is fine. But now I'm looking at the top half of the order, and I would love for the leadoff guy and the three-hitter to be in a position where you're starting to think that they're both locked in, specifically Max from a power standpoint. If that happens, then this weekend could get fun really, really fast. But against a kid who's a right-hander, again, who's sporting an ERA just under 5, you might have some chances here early on from the left side at that part of the lineup. Lodis is going to hit no matter what because he's done it all year.
The paths to dominating a baseball game, they're bountiful for Florida State. We've seen them win in a variety of ways. And when they're locked in and playing well, as we're describing, we've seen them really, they beat you with speed. They beat you with power. They beat you with patience. We've seen those stretches, but we've also seen the impatience and we've seen the frustration of swinging out of your shoes. And some things every now and again that you'll kind of, what I would guess is that you'll get the best ABs of the year. I mean, it's a regional. It's not we play tomorrow and then we travel Thursday, then we're here next weekend, and then we have this series the following weekend. This is it. This is it, and everybody understands it. It's a very easy message to get across. This is the best version of you. I don't know if this is a great example, but we're not out here at the Lipton Open working on shot shaping. We're trying to. We got to win this tournament. The very best of you is what's necessary here. Let's not work on anything. Let's not see if we can, because the guys do that during the year. I'm not saying they don't want to have success, but if they're stuck in a rut, they're trying different things occasionally. Now it's about the pitch-to-pitch, solid, smart situation calls for it, AB.
Yeah. Well, and this is where in a regional setting too, just be on your toes. I just named the guy who's starting for Bethune. Well, if it's not going well in the first inning or the second inning, somebody's going to be warming up for them. I mean, because you have to play and manage the game with a desperation. Florida State is not banking on having to go to the bullpen early at all today. But if for whatever reason,
don't even float that scenario, Tom.
Well, if it's happening, you got to be quick to punch, guy. I mean, even if it's one of your mediocre relievers, you can't use one of the also rans. Like, Link has to be ready for all contingencies today. I mean, that's what happens when you get to this weekend. Now, it was an extremely pleasurable experience last year when Florida State hosted the regional, and we were able to play from a position of power and dominance. You assume as a fan when you're playing a 4-seed in a regional that's going to be the case. It's not always that way. But the best part is, I'm sure, again, given that the weather forecast has improved, that place always feels different. About the second or third pitch of the game, Hauser has its own postseason feel. The engagement from the fans to join in with what the animals are doing is at its highest during a regional. The Noles chant, the chance when the guys are batting, like you feel there's an extra snap in the air. And it's not just because the humidity typically is 160% and the heat index is 105. It's because you understand that now is winning time. And so you're going to feel that this afternoon at 3 o'clock. And also Bethune will be feeling something very different from the midweek setting that they were here for earlier in the season. This is when people play for keeps in the stands.
It's funny, Tom, you go back and you look at last year and you're talking about the success of the team, obviously losing to Tennessee out in Omaha 7-2 in the final game. But man, what a run in the postseason. So, obviously they lose to Duke in the ACC championship game in Charlotte. And then it's 7-2 over Stetson. It's 5-2 over Central Florida. It's 12-4 over Central Florida. It's 24-4 over Connecticut. It's 10-8 over Connecticut, and it's like, thanks for playing, everybody. We are on a postseason run for the ages. Obviously, you lose that 12-11 game that you and I did the watch along for to Tennessee, but then it's 7-3 over Virginia. Then you house North Carolina 9-5. And you really realize they were so close.
Well, I mean, I don't want to make people feel depressed on a Libations Friday and a regional Friday, but, the right check swing call, and they're in the winner's bracket. That's how close it was last year. And then from there, front in a position of power with some of the arms that had developed by that time, Connor Holtz being one of them. They probably were in the best of three. There's a very good chance that they were in the best of three.
I think so. This team's not that team. We don't think so. We don't think this team is as good as last year's team. There may be some statistical measures that suggest they are close. That's fine. We watched both teams. We understand. Last year's team was better, but this is a good team.
Yeah, this team, if they were to lose one of their first two games this weekend, they're not totally dead. They could hit their way through this thing, and then you just need the coin flip to come up your way that you're getting good bullpen performances out of about two or three guys.
Yeah.
I've been to Flipping Tuesdays, the old AJs. You don't always get 3 coin flips in a row, but you could, and they might be able to legitimately hit their way to a super regional. This team in general, though, versus last year's team, this one kind of needs to front run. This one needs to be ahead, and I'm not just talking about on the scoreboard in the course of the 9 innings early. I'm talking about in a weekend, 1-0, 2-0 in a regional, and then 1-0 in a super would be extreme. And if you get to Omaha, winning that first game, this team really needs to play from in front. And I think they can, but it all starts today.
It's a good point you're making. They do feel a little front runnery. You know what? Actually, a better way of saying it, I think, is they begin to feel sorry for themselves when things don't go well. You see empty at bats. You're like, get your head out of your ass, guys. Let's go.
Yeah, it's the other side of having a lot of bravado, which we called them out for way back in February and early March. And I think we were correct to do so because the way Link Jarrett talked about the final game of the North Carolina series, the last regular season series, and the response to how they played, especially in game 2, that tells you that behind the scenes, he's like, mentally, we got to get a little bit tougher. And I saw toughness today.
A lot of bit tougher. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. More college football talk. There you go. You'll like it. It's been a week filled with college football talk. But yesterday I mentioned it on the show. And if you look around the country and you look around and read the articles surrounding these meetings with college football's leaders, quote unquote, it does look like the 5+11 model, Tom, is gaining real traction here. I think that's what's going to happen.
It's fine by me because, I think as it relates specifically to the ACC and the Big 12, I don't think this was their primary position, but it was a fallback. And I think everybody gets to save face with a 5+11 instead of the 4-4-3-3, which is what the ACC and the Big 12 wanted, or the 4-4-2-2. It sounds like everybody can at least fall back here and not declare defeat. They can all say, well, we all were for this the whole time. Politically, I think it's the right move.
So I bring this up not because of that specifically, but there are multiple articles citing that and you read the Greg Sankey's quotes and you read Jim Phillips quotes, and there's others. Big 12 commissioner weighed in as well. All the commissioners that are more important and insightful than Jim weighed in as well and said that they think that this seems to be the answer. If you read a little further down in any number of these articles, AP or otherwise, and I read all of them, so I don't, it's not like I'm not giving credit to Pete Thamel or anybody else. I just read a lot of these. There's something that stood out to me that I think is a grand oversight, Tom, and I did not have any idea. And I think you know where I'm going with this, but did you happen to see that the committee currently, according to their statutes, according to their rules, according to their guiding principles, according to the things that they need to look at when considering ranking a team, strength of schedule is not a factor that is weighed by the committee in its protocol. It's written nowhere in their language. There is nothing about ranking teams based on strength of schedule.
I wasn't aware of that. Do they use strength of record at all?
They don't.
It's just that there's no provisions whatsoever about what they're going to use.
Yeah, I'll read you one of the snippets to give it a clearer picture. Currently, strength of schedule is one of several factors not weighed in the committee's protocol. Language the FBS commissioners wrote at the inception of a 4-team playoff back in 2014. There's a sense among some athletic directors in both the SEC and the ACC that moving to 9 conference games is feasible if the committee doesn't penalize teams for losing 2 or 3 games against very strong opponents. They're pointing out, like, look, I think one of the rewards that should be, and I would agree with this, both leagues are saying this. Now, obviously, this would benefit the SEC more than the ACC. There's not enough good teams in this league for that to be a provision very often, but sometimes it does. Anyhow, I think that it's right to point out, look, if I play an extra conference game, and that means that I have the number 1 strength of schedule in the country because I play 3 10-win teams or 6 10-win teams and I lose 3 of them or whatever it might be, and their schedules are also strong, or however you want to look at it. If you're going to continue to try to incentivize teams with an expanded playoff of 16 and you say, look, schedule better games, it's for the good of college football. We want a Clemson versus an LSU. That's good for college football. It's good for college football that Texas is playing Ohio State out the gate. It's a great thing when Florida State plays Notre Dame. Well, it hasn't been a great thing for us lately, but you get it, the point. It's like, these are great games. We want more of these. Well, athletic directors and schedule makers all over the country would say, fine, I just need to know that if I'm going to play 7 ridiculously difficult games, I'm not going to get kicked in the ass because I lose 2 of them. I'm going to have my schedule weighted, and people are going to see some things are not like the other.
Yeah, there's a part of me that fully understands that argument. There's another part of me that says, too effing bad. You all make a ton more money than everybody else, and so therefore you're held to a higher standard. So what? Get out of my face. If it comes down to, let's say, a 2-game difference in the standings, we can only play who's in front of us. We don't have $20, $30, $40 million extra coming in from television revenue. There's your reward. Your reward is that your athletic department and your budget is just awash with cash. Whereas an ACC team or a Big 12 team, they're trying to do more with less, and so what? If you go 8-4, that means you lost 2 games too many, or 1 game. I guess in this instance with 16 teams, you lost 1 game too many. If an ACC team went 10-2, they made a reasonable effort to schedule outside of their own conference, as long as they don't go get to a bunch of FBS and FCS teams, then here we are in a place where we're going to be arguing about this, but this isn't even like making it akin to an NFL playoff where there was a selection committee. The NFC South has been the dregs of the NFC for a little while. The East has taken a turn being in. It's all kind of cyclical. But when there's a team that's 9-8 and it's the number 4 overall seed in the NFL, and they really might have only been a 7 or an 8 if you just went straight top to bottom in terms of wins and losses, nobody bats an eyelash. Thumbs the rules. That's their division. It's the luck of the draw. In this case, you're not even operating with the same parameters of, television money is even throughout the course of the NFL across 8 divisions. And the SEC is operating at a place, and the Big Ten's operating at a place of incredible privilege. And so if everybody's better, isn't that kind of what's supposed to happen? Because you're all bringing in, tens of millions of dollars of more money.
Yeah, the problem is, to me, you're trying to select the most deserving and best teams in college football. And if I end up thinking that a 3-loss team is much better than an undefeated team from a group of 5 that's played, nobody worth a damn, like Colorado State or something, like in teams like that, I have no problem doing either one. I get your point, but I'm going to take the 3-loss team over that team. They're not getting in. I mean, but this is the mandate, right? Are we putting the best teams in the playoff? Isn't that what we're trying to do?
Well, I don't think so, though. I think that we need to have a clear definition of
I agree with that.
Most deserving, because people are still arguing best versus most deserving.
Well, correct.
The thing is, don't penalize me for winning all of my games or 90% of I can only play who's in front of me. Now, if I, as a head coach, am not scheduling aggressively outside of my own conference, then you can dock me. But if we're making a reasonable effort, and the 23 Noles are a great example. If I'm playing LSU, I'm already going to play Florida. But if I'm going the extra mile to play LSU,
I agree with that.
That's all I can do.
Well, that's why it was
the luck of the draw in the ACC.
That's why it was unprecedented, and we've talked about that. And it wouldn't happen again, and they did it because they could. There were only 4 then. It wasn't a 12-team playoff. We would have coasted in. Everybody knows that. Listen, I get it. I get both. I'm not trying to make the pro SEC argument. I think this is true of the ACC. I think there are years that the ACC has been tremendous. It was not that long ago that the ACC was better for a singular season. We remember that than the SEC. And in a given year, I would have rewarded those ACC teams that were on the bubble. I would have been like, well, I mean, they did have to play a 10-win Virginia Tech team, a 10-win Pitt team, a 10-win Clemson team, and a 9-win. I would have done that. So I think it works both ways. It's tough. Hour number 2, forthcoming. Stay with Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Hour number 2, Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Rolling on a Libations Friday, Regional Friday. Appreciate you being here as always. On Twitter, it's at J Cameron Show. Don't forget to like, subscribe, pass around, let everybody know where you can find us there on YouTube, Warchant TV. And as I like to point out, thanks for listening to 93.3 Real Talk Radio. If you're driving about town, eagerly anticipate. Hey, we got a little lucky. I know this morning when I walked outside, it wasn't lovely. It wasn't 54 in slight breeze, no humidity, but it wasn't terrible. I think we're going to be all right. As regionals go, I think you're going to be all right. You're not going to be, why hast thou forsaken me mad? You're going to be sort of, okay, it is basically June and I'm all right.
As regionals go, this weekend is going to be Chamber of Commerce. Now this evening, you may have a pop-up today. It might be a little bit more typical, but the temperatures aren't terrible. And then the next 2 mornings when you wake up here in Tallahassee, it's going to be in the mid to upper 60s. Outstanding. And Sunday specifically is going to have low humidity and temperatures in the mid 80s. We got ourselves one of those little fake weekends, and we found it on the last weekend of May, early June. This happens going the other way, typically in October during football season. There's one weekend. You never know where it's going to pop up.
It turns out to be kind of cool.
It could be Halloween. It could be around the 10th or 11th, but you're going to get one where it's false fall. This is almost like a super late spring. It's somebody who overslept. The weather god's like, oh, I gotta leave. But while they're still sleeping, you get 65 in the morning, which thank you very much, weather gods.
Yeah, I'll take it. And I'm still contemplating trying to find a way when we win this regional, if we get out to Oregon, I'm trying to find a way to maybe make my way out there. I'll be the lone representative of Warchant out there trying to cover this thing. I'm still looking at it.
You'd have to fly Thursday because there's no convenient way, I don't think, to land and get in-house to Corvallis on a game, unless it's a Saturday to Monday super, which they would do you a favor if they did that.
Well, it's my son's birthday in a few days, and we've been kicking around my youngest son's birthday in a few days, and we've been kicking around some ideas for him. What do you want to do? And we've been looking at locations, and I'm trying to balance that with also the super regional and just how about we go to Corvallis?
What you could do is go to Portland and then just drive it down there, and they hang out in Portland while you go to the game and come back.
It's something to think about. It would be fun. I'd like to do it. I really enjoy, and I talk about this a lot, but I think a lot of college sports fans wholeheartedly agree with me. NFL venues, generally speaking, aren't something that I'm salivating to get to. There are some that I like more than others. Obviously, there's some that are very unique. If you go to Green Bay or something like that, it's very unique. I've never been to Green Bay, but I desperately want to go. And I know plenty of people who made the trek out to Green Bay for the Bucks Green Bay game the last time they played. And it's cool. It'd be fun. And I'm going to do it. Just like I've enjoyed. You loved going to Minneapolis and seeing the Vikings play in that stadium. It was incredible, right?
Yeah, and I didn't anticipate it, which is the best type of experience. You walk in, you go, whoa. And I'm telling you, anybody who has a chance, it blows Jerry's World out of the water because it's essentially Jerry's World, except you don't have the monstrosity in the middle of the field. The scoreboards are where they should be. It's supremely cool there.
Yeah, and I want to do it. And I saw the pictures, and I've watched games there on TV, and every time I see it, I go, oh, that would be cool. That would be cool. And I've been to certain other venues in the NFL that do fall under the banner of, oh, this is neat. This is unique. This is all right. But for the most part, that kind of love and affinity for place exists more amongst college fans. And it's because of collegial tie-ins, the university system. Going to see other colleges is something that is an awful lot of fun because they all have different traditions and different histories that are unique to the college experience. That is to say that you get to roam the campus as opposed to a city. And for me, I love that. It's not that I don't want to see the city, and it's not that I don't want to see other aspects of the history of that place. I'm namely there to see the college. And so when we go, like we did, you and I, to Baton Rouge and Baton Rouge, and we enjoyed the city very much. It was fine. Restaurants on the water. It was great. We had a good time. The campus. I wanted to, while we were tailgating, to wander the campus to see what life is like for the student that goes to LSU. I don't know that I'm ever really going to be out in Corvallis at any point to see what campus life is like at Oregon State. So this would be it. This would be the window. This is like, unless we play Oregon State in football anytime soon, that I don't know when I'd get back.
Well, it also offers you the opportunity to go into the bookstore and go grab the
Benny the Beaver,
the Hell to the Gnaw Team of the Week.
I would get that shirt and wear it with great pride.
I've got Benny around here. He's somewhere in the house. If I could think about where he is, I'll go grab him between segments.
But I mean, it would be. It's just anytime there's an opportunity. It's like there's no way, and my dad still laments this, and he will until the day he dies, and I tried to tell him that this was going to be the case, but he did not go to Pasadena. And I knew if I did only one more thing in my professional work life, it was going to be to get out to that Rose Bowl. There was no way I was not going to that Rose Bowl. Now, listen, I was in a fortunate situation, and I was going to be able to do that one way or the other. But I agreed with all the people that were like, "Oh, I got to go. I got to see it. I got to know. I got to know if all the hullabaloo is worth it." And now that's not necessarily a campus, but it is a famous locale. It's a famous football locale, and in general, pro or college. But it affirmed for me my instincts to want to go to places far and wide and strange that are of this fabric, right? That are of this collegial package that we cover and love and enjoy, watching. And it's because sometimes places do live up to the billing. Sometimes places are uniquely charming. Sometimes places are the worst place in the world. And how would I know that if I hadn't gone to Champaign, Illinois? Or, you know what I mean? Like, you've got to go and see it for yourself.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of Noles last year made that happen when they went out to Ireland. That was, we had the best seats of anybody who went.
Period. Oh, it's not even close.
I don't know.
Real.
Yeah, it's 50-yard line, upper tank under the cover because it did rain a couple of times, a nice little Irish rain.
Mm-hmm.
But that breeze that we had, especially the post game, it was in the mid 50s with the breeze. That was second to Pasadena, and I don't think that there's a third place. Like in terms of different destinations outside of Doak, Doak is going to pull on the heartstrings. That's not fair, especially that night against Oklahoma here, whatever, close to 15 years ago now. Like, that's something I'll never, ever, ever forget. It was different. But if you leave Florida State, I mean, Clemson's super loud. They got that going for them, and it's densely packed. It's vertical. I don't know that I've been many places where I've been impressed. Pasadena, blown away. Ireland, because of the nature and the weirdness of it, totally blown away. But there aren't a whole lot of places like that for me.
I've been to Ann Arbor. Ann Arbor is a wonderful town. Like, I really like it as a college town. It's an overrated venue because of the way that it's structured. It's flat and out as opposed to up. So it's not that loud for having 100,000+ people there.
Which is like the Rose Bowl. You know, the Rose Bowl, it's not about decibels there.
Right.
It's about the air you're breathing and the locale that you're in. But as a stadium, I think a lot of Noles that went to either one of those games are like, could stand some help, especially in the tunnels.
It's old. It's basically a dump.
I feel like I'm going to get ambushed by Leonidas here because I'm getting bottlenecked into these tunnels and I got nowhere to go.
Yeah, I think the thing of it is that okay, so there are places we go that I am impressed where I agree with you. Clemson doesn't on the same level, but it is an intimidating home environment there at Clemson. They've got a good environment. I mean, for that matter, Florida has a very good environment. The University of Florida Stadium is impressive because of the add-ons that they've made. It gets very, very loud there. They also engineer some of that noise, but it gets very, very loud there, and it's an impressive place. I know for a fact that if we go watch Florida State take on LSU in Baton Rouge, we're going to go, whoa,
yeah,
this is something. This is something. That's part of the argument for the SEC in general, for all of us that talk about which of the leagues we want to go to. Most of it's convenience and footprint. I mean, convenience and footprint leads the way. Regionally, it just makes sense. This is the footprint we're in. This is where we've always been. We've also operated, for the most part, like an SEC team, and that football is first. Football is always first, and we know that. But also because those locations throughout that footprint, for the most part, and this is where they have a distinct advantage, and this is why they've risen to where they have, to a place that makes us all kind of sick, but we do acknowledge those road tests in that league are different. Going to Ole Miss, going to Tennessee, going to Georgia, going to Alabama, going to LSU, and now Texas and Oklahoma and places like that, that's different. We know it's different than going to North Carolina, NC State, Virginia Tech, or Wake Forest. It just is. And that's, I think, the thing we most look forward to about leaving is, A, we'll be in with the haves, which is of utmost importance financially. But B, like, that's a give and take. Those fan bases are going to come to Doak. And we're going to have real tests every week where venue, if you don't show up and strap it on and get excited to play football, can take over.
Yeah, I think that, the reason I don't have a laundry list of places that I find to be cool, because I haven't made those road trips. And, every year I do it. When we stare at a bye week, I'm like, oh, I could drive to Auburn. I go catch that game. Ooh, I could fly to Baton Rouge. You know what? Actually, the flights are reasonable. It's only $350 round trip or $450 round trip out of Tallahassee. But then you just want the break. And so you don't go do it. Now I just want Florida State to solve the issue for me. Just get in the damn conference, and then we'll figure it out that way. Thank you. Do the work for me here.
The problem is, Tom, as we sit here today, and it's nearly June, on the precipice of June, I just want us to not be motivated to go to those places based on indifference for the team that's in our backyard. I don't want disastrous season after disastrous season to the point where you and I call each other in the offseason and go, look, man, Florida State's got a home game. I know we're going to have to work at some point here, but why don't we go to that noon kickoff with Auburn versus Tennessee and then come back later that night? And, like that would be brutal.
You will never have to worry about that with me. Never. No. I'm not going to Auburn, Tennessee in lieu of a Florida State home game, no matter how bad it gets here. Not the SEC, Now, if for some reason Army and Navy was being played the same time that we were playing Vandy, okay. If for whatever reason that happened, absolutely. We will do the post-game show from the Army bar in Pennsylvania. Sounds great. But you'll never have to worry about me driving to an SEC versus SEC game in the event that we are awful, which hopefully that never is an exercise that we have to.
What about if we're playing East Texas A&M and it's 100? Would you go to Ohio State, Texas instead if it was that week? Because I think you would.
I don't know. My job description on game day would have to be very different. I know. Host, so there's no point. But yeah. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there are times as you look at the sport of college football. Look, yes, our job requirements are never going to allow for us, and also our affinity for Florida State is such that we want to watch Florida State every week, no matter what. And we did last year at a 2-10 season. And I went to many of those games, not 100% of the home games, but most, all of them. And damn it, man. I mean, damn it, man. That was something. That was something. I worry about it. It's probably the lead for a lot of conversation for Florida State alumni, Florida State boosters, and fans of any kind. This offseason isn't just about, hey, we got to be a lot better than 2-10. Certainly, we're going to turn it around. It's a whole new roster. We've changed out coaches at key spots. We should be much better. Yeah, got it. But what everybody's worried about is that if you don't show up in that Alabama game, what is Doak going to look like the next two home games? You know, if you get housed by Alabama, what is that going to look like? Because that game's on the ACC network, one of those games the next week. And
we've lived it already, and it's just going to be one of those games where you get the guy with the New York accent on the ACC network. They're like, oh, that guy sounds familiar. Who the hell is he? He's like, what a great play there. Gain of 4. And you're like, all right, that's your play-by-play guy. You're going to get Herzlich, who gets confused a lot. And then you're going to have tight shots of the stands where there are pockets of people. And then every once in a while, they'll do an establishing shot with a graphic for coming up later on the ACC network at 3:30 and 7. And that's when you're going to see behind the graphic pockets of blinding metal reflecting into the camera's eye because nobody's there. I mean, we've been through this. So this was the era where Coburn had to tighten the belt for the entire athletic department. I know exactly what that place is going to look like. An effing ghost town.
But
don't get smoked.
But previously, Tom, we were not in the financial situation that we find ourselves in now. That is true. We've lived it. It is true that we've been on the wrong end of some dark times, the lost decade in which 30,000 fans didn't show up to the Maryland game, and we're watching Greg Reed save our bacon and all of that. Yes, it is true that exists, but we were not in financial peril in the way we are right now, in which that gate is going to matter greatly to trying to make do for the $50, $60, $70 million debt we find ourselves in operationally because of taking on a project like a stadium renovation simultaneously to building a football-only facility while being in a sorry-ass third-tier league that doesn't get paid out near the amount of money necessary to fund those operations and compete with those that are in our footprint. Well, it speaks to a larger worst-case scenario is all I'm saying.
It could, but look, man, we came in $20 million under budget on the stadium project. So I don't know about all this $70 million debt that you're talking about. And also, most of these tickets have been sold anyway. The founder suites can't get a refund. Those founder suites are bought and paid for. Those two games are going to be challenges for attendance anyway. But the larger implications are if you get smoked in that game, then Mike's on the clock.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. I mean, short of beating, winning your next 4 games, which includes the roadie at Virginia, and then Miami comes to town and you beat them, short of doing that, dude's on the clock at that point. But what would you assign the percentage chance that we get smoked by Alabama? I don't think that that's an eventuality. I don't think that that's the likely reality that we get smoked by Alabama.
No, I don't think – no, I'm not leaning towards us getting smoked by Alabama. I don't have a problem with the spread, though. So it's one of those.
I could see a 17-point loss, and that would make a lot of sense. If you told me it's going to be 38-21 Alabama, yeah, all right. I mean, that doesn't sound crazy to me. But if you tell me it's 41-7, like, I would be like, oh, okay. So we did nothing this offseason. Sounds good.
Well, if we get beat 41-7, it's telling you that our offensive line is still not good enough, because that's the only way that happens. Is you're on the field too much, you get worn down, Alabama's running the ball right at you, and you're going 3 and out because you can't run the ball. And you're going 3 and out, you can't run the ball, and you don't have a pocket passer, so he's not going to throw his way out of it. So you're dead. The scenarios by which Florida State can get blown out in a game against anybody are pretty apparent. I mean, that's how you beat those kinds of teams, is you don't allow the quarterback to run around. And then you make the guy that is namely a threat to run the ball, you make him a pocket passer, and it's good night, Irene.
You agreed. We've had enough of ththese moments where we're just staring at a wall and not even the television screen because we don't want to look at the television screen. It could be continuing. It could be that the groundhog goes, sees his shadow, and we've got another little bit of time with that. It's not productive, I don't think, it's going to happen. I
don't think that's going to happen. I'm saying that's how that's the scenario by which it could happen. I don't think it's going to happen either. I'm very curious. I have said before that this is a weird offseason, because for reasons that differ from most of the time where I'm this excited about college football and Florida State football specifically, I am as anticipatory as I've ever been, because I just don't know. I don't know if these changes are going to work. I don't know that they're not going to work. And I don't know what's at stake. I don't know what that Alabama team is. I know what they were last year, which was substandard to Alabama's. But I don't know what they are. I know how bad we were, but I also know that we've got an entirely new offensive line, new quarterback, new offensive coordinator.
It's a straight new team. It's a brand new team, especially on offense.
Yeah.
Yes, it's at minimum 4 new starting offensive linemen, because I suppose you could have a younger guy start, but 4 new offensive linemen, a new quarterback, new running backs, new tight end, new receivers. Are there any other positions? Like, it's their whole offense is completely different. Different coordinator. Sorry, forgot about that. So literally, you just airdropped a brand new side of the football onto the field. They're wearing the same uniforms, but they're all different dudes.
Yeah, it's interesting. The only areas in which you can get concerned because of what's happened recently is in the recruiting realm. But other than that, you really can't.
But then they landed that unbelievably high-profile OV that's coming up in 10 days.
We'll see, Tommy. We'll see. It's hard. I know recruiting matters, and it's good to get these visits from studs, because that is seen by other studs. I get the importance of it, but I will see. By the way, speaking of seeing and enjoying and relaxing and not stressing, you might like THC, and you might say to yourself, I do, Jeff, but I don't want to smoke it. I don't like it. It's harsh on my lungs. Cornbread Hemp has launched a line of THC seltzers that taste great. Tom's had, I think, more than I have. He's been engaging. I have been imbibing, but not at the same level. I think Tom's nightly with the THC seltzer.
That's not true.
It's a seltzer that tastes great. Apparently feels amazing for these seltzer drinking fools like Lang. It's every night. Each.
You could put like a serious narcotic in his seltzer, and I'd think about it. I love carbonated water, flavored carbonated water. I'm a sucker for it.
I know you do. And that's why, if you're like Tom Wang, 4 delicious flavors to choose from: Blueberry Breeze THC seltzer, Peached Iced Tea THC seltzer, Raspberry Limeade THC seltzer, and Salted Watermelon. That's the one I've had. It's good. THC seltzer. Right now, listeners of the Jeff Cameron Show can save 30% off their first order and enjoy free shipping on orders over $75. Head to cornbreadhemp.com. We using Cameron or code, Tom?
We're using Cameron. Code Cameron. Code Cameron.
Code Cameron, indeed. So that's where you want to go. cornbreadhemp.com/ code Cameron. Use code Cameron at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/Cameron. Code Cameron, cornbread hemp. That's the good life.
You know, I think if there was a morphine in a seltzer, I would know it's terrible for me. Like, what flavor is that? Well, it's a raspberry limeade seltzer with morphine.
With morphine.
I don't want the morphine, but I love a good raspberry limeade seltzer. Give me a glass of that.
Yeah. Code Cameron, everybody. Cornbreadhemp.com. All right. I don't know how much to believe in this or not, and I don't know what it means, even if it works out. We say this is the problem and part of the pitfalls that have really betrayed the college football fan everywhere, which is the things that we used to mark the time and the things that we got excited about that were different about college football than pro football. But having said all of that, I do recognize the importance of getting big name kids on campus for official visits. And I especially recognize the importance of that for a staff under Mike Norvell. Even the new staff is still under Mike Norvell. And that staff has got to show signs of life in the world of recruiting. Prep recruiting has got to improve at Florida State if we want to sustain excellence, if we want to have a chance to be considered elite again. I know that it doesn't guarantee you that you're going to have success year over year over year, but it gives you a better chance. And if you get them in, there's a chance you can find a way to convince them to stay. If they never come here, it's pretty rare, if they're playing and having fun elsewhere, that they're coming to your place. So better to get them here than not. Better to be high profile in the world of recruiting as seen by the players you're trying to bring in than not. And this young man represents that kind of high profile recruiting that I'm talking about. For those that don't know, 5-star prospect, Houston commit at quarterback, Keyshawn Henderson, has set up an official visit to Florida State. It is going to take place 2 days before my birthday. A very special time in this country. June the 9th. That is according to On3's Mr. Wiltfong, I believe it is. Yeah, he's a big name in the recruiting business. I sound like I don't know who he is, but I do. The Noles have, according to him, done a great job of working this recruitment, quote, behind the scenes. Tony Tokars has built a great relationship with the Lone Star State talent, and he would have an opportunity to be an instant impact player for Mike Norvell and FSU, quote unquote. That is what Wilfong wrote for On3. He's 6'3" is Keyshawn Henderson, the number 4 quarterback in the country, the number 2 prospect in Texas, and the number 16th overall ranked recruit in the United States. That, Tom, is, fits the bill of a big get, a big name. If that happens, it will mark a shift in Florida State's recruiting prowess. It will mark a shift and hopefully would portend of a lot more of those kinds of articles being written, because this fan base desperately holding on to hope that this gets turned around, because unfortunately the offseason has been an awful lot of watching our rivals in particular sign high profile players at key positions and spend a lot of money while we have remained fairly dormant.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting from the recruiting ranking standpoint too. And not that I get into this very often, but the number 1 opponents publication of On3 has this player as the number 3 overall player in the country, number 2 quarterback in the country, but number 1 player in Texas. Like that's why he's a consensus, an industry ranking 5-star, as Florida State has secured the official visit. This is really important. And I know it's only a visit and you're shooting your shot and the kid's committed elsewhere, but I find the decision to go after a 5-star quarterback to be an interestingly aggressive one. It tells me that Mike Norvell understands the situation, but it also is interesting to me because Gus Malzahn doesn't have to get this type of quarterback to get a lot of production out of the quarterback position. We just got done talking about this earlier in the week. I almost look at quarterback as more of a specialist position in a Gus Malzahn offense than I do somebody who is going to be in a long assembly line of Gus quarterback to NFL prospect. It just doesn't happen that often. He has a couple of examples, but he doesn't have a litany of them. So you can go get a 3-star like Kevin Sperry right out of Texas. Like he was a high 3-star, but he wasn't an elite 11 winning top 3 player in the country like this particular Texas prospect is. And it looks like he's going to fit the system quite well. They already like him very much, and his game fits what Gus is asking for. So you could get away with spending money on a different position than a quarterback and still be, I think, very successful if you're setting your budget as Florida State. For them to make the decision to go all in on this kid, and make no mistake, you're going all in if you're grabbing a kid who's committed elsewhere as a 5-star to make his way on campus. That's a choice where you're saying we are devoting the lion's share of our NIL money to this particular prospect, that you're making that decision as Gus Malzahn and Mike Norvell for your offense is a statement in and of itself. I don't know if it's that they know that they need some kind of spark to change their fortunes, but here's what it does. Let's just say, for argument's sake, they were able to make the proper NIL pitch and get this kid to say yes to FSU. If Mike has a middling season like 7-5 or a weak 8-4, you would hold on to him in that situation if all things are being equal, because he would have a 5-star quarterback coming in. That's what helped Billy Napier's job security, was that DJ Lagway was a part of the program. In the same way, if you're able to secure this kid and he's locked in, that can change your fortunes for your own personal career. One kid can do that if it's a top 3 player in the country at quarterback.
Yeah, you hit on a lot of notes there, Tom, that are all 100% correct. We agree. I have heard from many that follow and love recruiting that their frustration isn't just about the fact that Florida State is not often in on some of the bigger name players and have really struggled to win the recruiting wars on that final day when they have to sign on the line, which is dotted, and that they have fallen short way too many times. It's that they don't seem to understand or allocate properly their time or their money when it comes to kids that they have no chance to get, and thus they miss out on a rung just below that level of player that they could get, that they could bring in, that would be an improvement at the position, that would add to your long-term success of a segment group, that would give you prospects a year or two from now that would be in the coffers that you would feel good about. But because you went all in on this guy or that guy that you have no chance to get, that Texas is going to steal from you, or that Alabama or LSU or you name the team is going to take from you, because they're in a better position to do so, either financially or their record dictates it, whatever it might be. And you're just barking up the wrong tree and being played by the player and his representatives for more money when eventually they're going to go to those teams. And you have to be of the understanding of when that is happening. You have to have the wherewithal to know, man, I know it's flattering. He took your call. It's great. He's going to come here next week. That's cool. You got no shot, brother. Stop wasting your time and put your effort, time, money, and resources into a player that's a rung below him that you can get. And that if you start now with the relationship building, you will get. I'm not saying they shouldn't do this. I'm not saying this is empty. I'm not saying that I have any idea whether or not they can get this kid. I'm going to defer to the recruiting experts in this field. I'm going to defer to what we have on our staff. Because I'm not a recruit, Nick. But as soon as I read that, I went, well, okay, you better believe you've got a realistic shot at signing this kid, or you're just, once again, arming people whose greatest criticism has been that these are the kinds of guys you have no chance to get that you continue to try to bring in.
Well, yeah, for me, like I look at this situation, if he wasn't this elite caliber of player, and he was a high 4-star and he's playing around with different universities and you feel like that game is being, executed, then I would say, what the hell are we doing? One of the benefits of having Gus Malzahn is you can save money at quarterback so you can spend it elsewhere. Like if I'm just looking at it as a capologist for this football program, I don't need a $2 million quarterback in order to be successful with Gus Malzahn's offense. So let's spend $500K on the quarterback and let's dump that money into the offensive line or the defensive line. However, if you're going to swing for a player, let it be a guy that might be a Heisman candidate in this offense, because that's what a 5-star projects to be. A lot of them don't live up to the hype, but I'm just saying, If you're going to take a shot, don't do one on a mid-tier or an upper-tier 4-star that's going to cost you too much money because he's talking to 3 or 4 Power 2 institutions in addition to Florida State. If you're going to go after a quarterback, then go all the way. And that's what they're doing here. Now, they're going to host all those kids. Duckworth and O'Neill are also going to be on campus after Keyshawn Henderson comes to town about 10 days from now. But in this instance, what it would mean momentum-wise for the program, I mean, what's Jimbo Fisher without Jameis Winston? I used to argue about, they recruited fine otherwise, but just at what point, when you look back at his resume, do you say, well, he was a badass independent of Jameis Winston? A guy like this can change your fortunes, and they're swinging for it. And I appreciate that. I think that's what they need to do. And at least national analysts for now are saying that Florida State has their attention. National analysts aren't looking at this as a courtesy visit, maybe to drum up other support. There's at least enough people in the industry that are going, whoa, that's actually significant for me to go, okay, let's see what you got. Because you wouldn't bring him in here if you weren't willing to say, what's the price? You wouldn't come in here and say, you're going to play for X amount of dollars. You would bring him in here negotiation-wise to say, what do you want?
It's crazy to me that we have this conversation. I know it's the reality, but again, we still have not passed the House settlement. We still do allegedly are under the guise of you can't talk about inducements. And you're just talking openly, and we all know it's true, about a negotiation regarding a salary for a player. And it's not collectively bargained, and it's not something that is guided by, employee work agreements. It's not, it's none of this. It's just kind of known that you're bringing a guy in to discuss salary expectations. It's ridiculous, but it's real.
We need to do it. If you're going to get a yes from somebody, get a yes from the quarterback. Look, Miami got the #1 offensive lineman in the country. It would be a nice response to get a top quarterback, one of the top 2 or 3 in the country.
Yeah, I would argue in this offense, Tom, in all seriousness, and as you brought this up just now again, but I think you're right. I would argue I would have spent, and they did at the end of last year's disaster, go out and get experienced and well-versed offensive linemen to run my system here. I would spend the vast majority of my money not on a high-profile quarterback, but on the offensive line. I would be bringing in 5-star elite badasses on the offensive line, left and right. That could be in the portal, wherever you can find them. Most of the 5-star great clay to work with, it actually comes from the prep ranks when it comes to the line of scrimmage. But yeah, I would be doing it. That's what you'd be reading about this all the time. They're like, once again, Florida State is a leader in their clubhouse for an offensive lineman.
Agreed, to a degree. In this case, though, I think if you were able to land the kid, and look, it could be much ado about nothing. He comes on campus, nothing happens, and he remains committed to Houston. Could be. But if you get this kid on campus and you're able to flip him, well, now you've had that watershed moment where you're attractive to other top flight recruits.
Correct. Yeah, I see it.
And top offensive linemen. Like, it's just, to me, by nature of hosting this kid and working very hard, and Tony Tokars has been close on this recruitment. He's the primary point of contact.
Yep.
In order to establish the relationship. You know the message you're sending by taking this risk. You know the message you're sending by swinging for the fences with this particular kid. And that's a choice that they made. Do we want to go for it? And at some point they had to say, let's go for it. Kudos to them, because they need a shot in the arm.
Desperately. And that's where I, without question, think that you can be buoyed by this. You don't have to be cynical. Like, I'm generally cynical about the recruiting efforts of this staff under Mike Norvell. I've watched him fail even after great success. So I have a hard time believing most of the time that they're going to win when it comes to recruiting. And I think our fan base feels that way. That's why they're frustrated with Mike. They want to believe in Mike, but then the recruiting lets them down and they go, I don't know. How can I believe? Most of the time, I'm with you on that. This is not one of those. I agree with you. I think there's no way they do this. I mean, again, go down the road this far without believing they have a legitimate shot. So something happened in the dialogue, something happened in the conversation, something happened in the working relationship that indicated there was a chance for this to happen. And Tony is somebody I've talked to extensively on this staff. And Tony's a straight shooter. So I'm really interested the next time I get a chance to talk to him to see where we're at on this, if he'll talk. I mean, I'd really like to know, just how close we are to getting the shot in the arm that you're describing. It would be huge. Jeff Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV. Tom, I wouldn't say that we're so erudite as to claim that we are men of language and words above and beyond the vast majority of the people in this community listening to this show. I'd like to think we have a lexicon of vocabulary words to choose from when describing things on the show that we're both impressed with to an extent. But, there are those that are better. We understand that. It is seldom that I see a word, however, that I don't have any idea its root, what it means, where it comes from, you name it, and what won the spelling bee for somebody in the Scripps National Spelling Bee is one of those words.
Okay. See, yeah. Well, yes, it's a bunch of nonsense words that have been out of circulation for hundreds of years is what often finds its way into the spelling bee.
Okay. I see you're bitter about this.
Well, it's like that's not even a real test, It's like, do you know this obscure word that has a 16th century root that has not been used I'll use it in a sentence. It'll be the first time it was used in a sentence in the last 250 years. Go ahead, young man. And if you don't get it right, I'm gonna ding you.
Could you hear that?
No, your audio will not share.
I was hoping to share with the audience once we started recording. Éclaircissement is the word. Now you can guess, but here's what it means because I did not know.
I'm sure it's German in origin.
Obscure. It's resignment. It's hard to get the clarification. Its etymology, as you could guess, is French.
Yeah.
Tom, you did note a century that you thought it might be from or thereabouts. The first known use of the word was in 1667.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It means to clear up something obscure.
All right.
Now I'm going to use this word incessantly. It's going to bother you that I'm using it so often. Many people use it as a means to describe someone who is is engaged in an enlightenment. Let's say.
Right. Yeah, clearing the fog. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's an enlightenment. Yes. Éclaircissement.
Can I take a stab at it?
I want you to take a stab at it. I wasn't putting you on the spot because it is a difficult one, but I do think you got a shot at it. You're a good speller. I'm a good speller. Go for it. Find a way. Let's go. But I'll tell you what happened.
Give me the pronunciation one more time.
Éclaircissement.
Éclaircissement or éclaircissement?
Éclaircissement.
Éclaircissement. Okay.
Hey, just for good measure, give me a second. I'll do it again for you just because I want to make sure I give you every opportunity.
Yeah, I was trying to derive if there's an R in there or not.
I know you are, and I'll tell you there is an R, but I said it the way that they pronounce it. Here you go. Éclaircissement. That is how it is said. Éclaircissement.
Is there a double C or not? All right, we're going to give it a roll here. Huh?
Go for it.
Okay. ECCLAIRSISSYMONT.
You gave it a good run, but no, sir, not close.
Okay.
It is ECLA.
Single C, son of a.
But there's other things that were wrong with your spelling.
Yeah.
ECLAIRSSEMENT.
That's the pronunciation you derive from that spelling? Okay.
Éclaircissement. Now.
M-E-N-T in French?
Yep. Right. How about that, right? Yeah, I know. So my favorite part of this is with the spelling bee down to 3 spellers, Sarvadanya Kadam and Sarv Harvavan missed their words back to back. to put Faison in a position to win. 2 words from victory. But instead of asking the requisite questions, definition, language of origin to make sure he knew it, he let his showman's instincts take over and spelled the first of the 2 words correctly. Then before the judge could do it, said to said judge, now ring the bell. At which point the bell was ringed, and then the judge said, Mary Brooks said, now you know what happens. Can you spell éclaircissement? And my man, the 100th anniversary of the spelling bee, did indeed correctly spell éclaircissement.
Good job, little kid. You memorized words that won't ever be meaningful in modern society and haven't been for generations.
Except for on the Jeff Cameron show, where éclaircissement will be used from here on out. Henceforth, éclaircissement anytime we are enlightened.
You could say that the Alabama game will be a moment of éclaircissement.
Oh, buddy, we will walk in on a Monday. Well, how about that round of éclaircissement, everybody? We now know some things about this team. What a moment of éclaircissement. And every time I use it from here, you're going to go, Jesus. And I'm going to.
Well, 16th century France, what do you want?
1667, when people challenge me, when I use it at the bar or I use it in company, it's a little éclaircissement I see. And they're going to go, sir. Oh, 1667 in France. They used it all the time.
I just thought it was the 2 guys who had the assist on the Guy Lafleur goal for his 500th. Éclaircissement.
What a pass from éclaircissement. Goal!
Lafleur.
Final hour forthcoming. It's an all football hour because you guys are at the baseball game. Let's do it.